The architects of chaos, the hidden hands behind global power. A ruler who understands power does not seek to be adored. He seeks to be feared and obeyed. The true wielders of power never place themselves in the public eye, for visibility invites scrutiny, and scrutiny breeds resistance. Instead, the masters of the world operate from the shadows, controlling the tides of history through carefully orchestrated chaos. Those who believe that the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, or George Soros are the ultimate masterminds of global manipulation are blind to the deeper reality. These figures are but courtiers in a grander game, pawns on the chessboard of dynastic empires that have, for centuries, dictated the fate of nations. The Rothschilds and Rockefellers, a legacy of control. To understand the true architects of power, one must look beyond the visible elite and examine the families that have, for generations, engineered financial and political upheavals for their own benefit. The Rothschild dynasty, emerging in the late 18th century, mastered the art of banking and war profiteering. By funding both sides of conflicts, from the Napoleonic Wars to the World Wars, they ensured that no matter the victor, their wealth and influence expanded. Nathan Rothschild's infamous manipulation of the British stock market following the Battle of Waterloo demonstrated how control over finance could dictate the course of empires. Likewise, the Rockefeller family, through their control of oil and industry, transformed the 20th century into a battleground of their making. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil monopoly dictated American and global energy policy, while his descendants played key roles in shaping institutions like the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, bodies designed not for democratic governance, but for strategic manipulation. The Rockefellers have ensured that economic crises, from the Great Depression to the 2008 financial collapse, serve as opportunities to further entrench their grip on global markets. Orchestrating war, a profitable endeavor. The Rothschilds and Rockefellers are not merely financiers. They are masterful tacticians who have weaponized war as an instrument of policy. The Balfour Declaration of 1917, which promised British support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine, was not a mere act of diplomacy. It was a maneuver facilitated by Rothschild influence, ensuring geopolitical instability in the Middle East that persists to this day. The Rockefeller-backed American involvement in World War II, particularly through their ties to the banking cartel that financed both Nazi Germany and the Allied war effort, highlights their unwavering commitment to the principle of controlled destruction. The Cold War was yet another stage for these families to play their hand. By bankrolling both Soviet and Western institutions, they ensured a perpetual state of military escalation that justified the expansion of the military-industrial complex. More recently, the so-called War on Terror has been a tool for furthering economic and political objectives, with major oil interests, military contracts, and central banking policies benefiting from the never-ending conflicts in the Middle East and beyond. Terrorism, the new face of controlled chaos. In the modern era, terrorism has replaced conventional warfare as the preferred method of global destabilization. From the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, funded by American and European banking interests, to the rise of ISIS, these groups are not spontaneous entities but carefully nurtured pawns in a game of perpetual disorder. It is no coincidence that terror networks flourish in regions rich in resources or geopolitical significance. The same financial institutions that claim to fight terrorism are often those that indirectly fund it, using chaos as a means of maintaining control over both governments and markets. The illusion of leadership, puppets, and their strings. Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum preaches a doctrine of global governance, but it is merely an instrument for implementing policies designed decades ago by its true sponsors. Schwab himself is a middle manager, not a kingmaker. Likewise, George Soros, often blamed for social upheaval, operates within an even larger hierarchy, funding movements that serve to justify greater state control and financial manipulation. These figures are tools, wielded by those who understand that true power does not need to be seen, it only needs to be felt. Conclusion: the Game of Thrones continues. History teaches that power is never given. It is seized, manipulated, and wielded by those who understand its mechanics. The dynasties that have controlled the levers of global finance and politics for centuries do not seek recognition, nor do they fear blame. Instead, they rely on illusion, allowing their pawns to take the stage while they move the pieces from behind the curtain. To navigate this world is to understand that chaos is not an accident, but a strategy. And those who wish to master power must learn that in a world governed by shadow rulers, the only path to survival is to see beyond the illusion and recognize the true architects of destiny.